Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now I'm going to show you how to do this. Now I've done this in two different colours, but you can do this stitch just in one colour if you want. You still get a lovely pattern like this if you do it just with one colour as well. My edges, once I didn't carry the yarn from here up to here to start the next one because it's too far. So I just snipped off the yarn and I stitched the ends in. That's what I'll do with this one. I'll just use a darning needle and I'll stitch it in along here so you can't see it. So the way I'm going to show you how to do this, I'm going to use these two. I'm going to use a red and this grey just to show you how to do this quite quickly. It crochets up quick, it's only 2 rows and it's quite a long stitch as well. And you're working into the row below. This is my pink row. So to do that long stitch, you work into the colour that's on the bottom. But you can still do this all one colour if you want to, and it'll be really pretty. That's the back. So it's not what's classed as a reversible. It's not a reversible blanket. But it shows you how compact the stitch is. It's a really nice, neat stitch as well. You can make it as big as you like. Now, the thing you need to know with this is when you do your first treble crochet row, if you're in the USA, that's a double crochet row. It needs to be an odd number of stitches. So I'm going to show you how to do this. It's really easy. I'm going to use a UK 4mm crochet hook and I'm going to start with the red first. So I'll put the grey off to the side. You can start with any colour that you want and I'm going to show you how to do this. So you're going to do a chain and you need an odd number of stitches. The good thing with this is if you get to the end, then you'll count your row. If you have an extra stitch, then just pick it out. We'll go with that. I'm just doing a sample here. Now you're going to go into the 4th stitch, 1, 2, 3 and 4. You're going to put your yarn over and go in and do a UK treble crochet, 1 into each stitch all the way along. If you're in the USA, this is a double crochet. Now I think I might need to change to white so you can see this a little bit better. I've got 2 boards here on my desk. That's a little bit better. So I went into the 4th stitch in my chain and done a UK treble crochet. I'm going to put 1 treble crochet all the way along in my chain and then I'm going to count them. This is the easiest way for beginners to do this. 1 treble crochet into each stitch all the way along. And you need an odd number. If you've got an even number, then don't do your last stitch. So I've done my chain and I've done a row of UK treble crochets. Now the easiest thing I'm going to show you how to do this, why I didn't tell you that there's a stitch count or anything, there really isn't. You need an odd number of stitches, you need an odd number of these treble crochets. So if you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've got 28. I need 27 as the odd number. I'm going to take that last stitch out and right on the bottom of the chain here, I'm just going to pick this stitch out as well. So I'm just going to tighten that last stitch right away in. So I've got 27. That is the easiest way to do this. When you've done a row of treble crochets, count them. You need an odd number. If you've got an even number, just take one out, take it out, and then just push your chain knot in a little tighter. What we're going to do now is I'm going to chain 1 and turn. So we're going into this first stitch and we're going to put a double crochet into every stitch along, and you should have an odd number. And then I'll show you how to change your yarn. Now I'm right above the chain 3 here. These are the 3 stitches we missed. I'm going to put my hook through and pull my yarn through. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors. Now I found it much easier just to sew in the tail ends. It's too big a gap just to pull the colour up. I'm going to snip this colour off, give myself enough to stitch in. So I've got my grey. Take your next colour and pull it through those 2 stitches. Just tighten your red up. I'm going to flip the tail over there and then use your working yarn. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3 and turn my work around. So there we go. What we're going to do now is we're going to do a treble crochet into the next stitch. So yarn over and treble crochet into the next stitch. So we have, that counts as a treble crochet, and we've got a treble crochet here. Now what we're going to do is skip this one and this one. So into this third stitch, down here into the treble crochet row. So we've got a treble crochet down here. You're going to wrap your yarn twice around your hook. We're doing what's called a double treble front post stitch. It's a big long stitch. So you've got that very first stitch there, your second one. So into the third one, you're going around the stitch. So put your hook right through the back and weave it behind the stitch. Bring your yarn around and pull it through. Now you must wriggle it up to the height of these 2 stitches here. So wriggle it up, yarn over and come through 2 loops, yarn over through 2 loops, yarn over and through 2 loops. So the stitch right next to it here, so this is the post you've worked on. Don't go behind there. You'll see the stitch right beside it there. You're going to do a treble crochet in this stitch. That's a treble crochet in this stitch. So this round, when you're on the front of your work, you'll always be doing these long post stitches and your treble crochets. So you're going to skip that one there and go around this one down here. Remember, you're in the bottom row here. So yarn around twice, around the post of that stitch, and just nip it to hold it. Nip here and pull your stitch up. Once your work's a little bit longer, you can hold it further up. Yarn over through 2 loops, yarn over through 2 loops, yarn over and through 2 loops. Then a treble crochet into the stitch, this row here, into this one. So the easiest way to remember it is high stitches, low stitches, high stitches, low stitches. So your high stitches are your top row and the lower stitches are the bottom row underneath. So yarn over twice, you're going to skip that one and work around this one, around the post, all the way along. You're going to do your long stitch and then a treble crochet into the stitch right next to it on the top row. So I've done my last long stitch and I've got 2 left. So these 2 stitches, I'm just going to do a treble crochet. So do your treble crochet after your last long one and do a treble crochet into the last stitch. And this is what you get. Now we're going to chain one and turn. Now when you're on the back of your work, this is the back of your work, you'll always be doing a UK double crochet. If you're in the USA, it'll be a single crochet for you. So when you're on the back of your work, this row will always be a double crochet. So you're going to go into that very first stitch. We've chained one and turned, and we're going into that very first stitch and put one double crochet into every stitch all the way along. And I've got one I'm going to put into the top of this chain of 3. Push your hook through because we're going to change the yarn again. Pull your stitch through. Now you're going to snip your grey. Leave yourself enough in the tail to stitch in. We've got 2 stitches on. Get my red. So I'm going to take my red yarn again. Just give yourself a tail. Put it over your hook. And pull it through those 2 stitches. Now just tighten up your ends. Tighten up these stitches. Tighten up. A little bit fiddly till you get used to it. So you're going to chain 3, so that's 1, 2 and 3, and turn your work. What we're going to do now is those long stitches that we did here, we're going to do them around these stitches, these smaller stitches. Leave these ones alone. We're going to be working in this top row and this bottom row here, this one, not this one, that's all done. We're using the top row and these stitches here, these ones. So your chain 3 counts as your first stitch, and we're going around this stitch here. This is the stitch in your bottom, in your second, we'll call it a second row. So we're going around the stitch here in the second row of this colour. So yarn over twice and go around that stitch. Pull your yarn up, make sure you pull it up, you've got to pull it up. If you don't, your blanket will curl in like that. Pull through 2 loops, yarn over, through 2 loops, yarn over and through your 2 loops. So that's you done your double treble crochet. Now into the very next stitch, that'll be the one at the top of this one, you're going to do a treble crochet. So we're just repeating this row that we did down here. So there's your next stitch. In between these 2 big long ones, yarn over twice and around that stitch. Pull your yarn up, through 2 loops, through 2 loops and through 2 loops. So the very next stitch next to it, the very next stitch, treble crochet. Yarn around twice and then work around that stitch there. We're not touching these big long stitches. We're going into this one. Around that post, pull up, yarn over through 2 loops, yarn over through 2 loops and yarn over and through 2 loops and into the stitch right next to it, 1 treble crochet. So we'll stitch all your ends in at the end, or you can stitch them in as you're going from row to row, and this is what you get. Now don't worry, you'll see the pattern emerging once we get further up. Symmetrical. And then into the last stitch you're going to do your treble crochet. Now chain 1 and turn your work. This is what it looks like. So you're going to turn your work and do 1 double crochet into each stitch all the way along. Go right into that very first stitch there and 1 double crochet all the way along. That's your 2 row repeat. So I'm at the end of the row, and remember and do 1 stitch into the top of your chain of 3. Just pull it through. Now keep it there because we're going to change the yarn. The reason I'm cutting it is if you want to just pull your yarn up like this and start your next colour, you're left with this great big long loop. So it's easier just to cut the yarn and then stitch your ends in. You can stitch your ends in as you're working if you want. After you've done a row, just hide the colour in along the bottom. So I'm going to leave enough to sew the end in. I'm going to take my grey again. So that's the back of the blanket if you're doing a blanket, and you'll always be doing a double crochet. So if you keep the 2 stitches on, you don't see the stitch change so much. Then just pull your yarn through. You won't see the colour change, I should say. Wrap the tail just around. Then you're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn your work. There we go. That'll get all neat and tidy. Now your next stitch is this big long stitch. We don't want to go around that one. We want to go around this one. So your next stitch here on this row, when you do your grey, will be another treble crochet. So do a treble crochet, and that's going to bring you across to this stitch here. So you're going to do your yarn over twice, under there, and pull your stitch up and start your pattern repeat again. So this is your pattern repeat. So right into the stitch next to it, do your treble crochet. And there's your stitch here that you want to wrap around. Around that post, pull up your yarn and finish your double treble crochet. Into the next stitch, treble crochet. So when you're on the front, you'll always be doing these long stitches around that stitch and a treble crochet into the top. When you're on the back, you'll always be doing a row of double crochet on the back, and that's what creates your row here. So we're going down to this stitch. Now don't worry that it looks as if you've got a stitch missing. This stitch here belongs to that one. So go around that one and pull up. And then do a treble crochet into the stitch right next to it. So you will have the same amount of stitches. So around that one, around the post, and pull up, keep your stitch up, and then treble crochet, and you'll do that all the way to the end. You'll chain 1 and you'll turn and do your row of double crochet. You'll take your next, cut your colour off, and then add your next one, and the next row you'll be working around these ones with your red, and that is how it works out. It works out like this. I'll get this one back, and it turns out like this. It's a great way to use up all your scrap yarn, which I get my 2 stitches back. Look at that one and pick up that one. So I've done my pink row and I've got my 2 stitches on. So I'm going to attach this grey. Just pull it through. I'm going to wrap the tail end just around the ones to hold it. And I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then turn my work around. Turn it around. So on this one, I'm going to go around this stitch here. This one that's right next to this one. So yarn around twice. So you can use any yarn for this because this is a chunky yarn that I'm using. Do my long stitch. Then right into the stitch right next to it, I'm going to do my treble crochet. Then yarn around twice and go down to the stitch that's in between your long stitches. Just the same as we were doing with that other colour. Now when you're using a thicker yarn, it looks as if you've got bigger spaces in between, but you haven't. But you can use any yarn for this. And look how pretty this turns out. If you've got lots of odd balls of yarn or odd little balls that are only 20 grams or 25 grams, you can do this and it looks so, so pretty. Now to finish it, just remember when you get to the end, chain one and turn to the back and do one row of double crochet. That's how you'll finish this on a double crochet row like this. So if I were to finish on the pink, I would just do that row and then finish it. And that's it. That's how you do that. Now, I hope you haven't looked at this and thought, there's no way I'm going to do that. You can. So that's what you'll do with the easiest thing to get this correct is do your chain the length you want, do a row of treble crochets, then count them. And if you've got an odd number, it's fine. If you've got an even number, then take the last stitch out so you have an odd number of stitches to work with. And this is what you'll get. It's really, really pretty. And finish your blanket on a double crochet row. So you'll finish on the back and do a double crochet row and that'll be it finished. So give this a try. It's really, really pretty. I love it. It's great done in the grey and the pink, but you can do any colours you want. You can even just do it in one colour. It's up to you. So thank you very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, over 70% of the people that have watched this channel are not subscribed. So if you please subscribe to the channel, click on that red subscribe button there. And if you click on that bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. So thank you very much for watching. Happy crafting and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.